Here we go, guys. Got some announcements, some updates, some takeaways. We doing this. It is 3:18 in the afternoon. It's time to rock. Welcome everybody to this short 20-minute rock. What is rocking? If you don't know, rocking is carrying weight on your back. This is a rocking backpack. Company Go Rock. Check them out. They make really cool backpacks. I don't get paid for endorsing them. They have just contributed to a practice called rocking that I've adopted in my 40s. Shout out to Robbie Higgins, who got me into it and got me my first rocking backpack as a gift. Appreciate that. He's good people. Shout out to all the good people on the planet. And here we are. We're rocking it. I got 30 pounds of weight on my back. I've upgraded. I used to do 20 pounds, and that just seemed it got a little bit light for me for a while. So now I'm at 30 pounds. Rock walks. So during these sessions, I'm going to attempt to deliver some value, some useful information, give you updates about this virtual school and community called the Ugly Dojo. This is something I created to help people specifically hitting 40 years old, right? So if you're around the 40-year mark and above, 40, 50, maybe even 60. This is what I'm doing to try to maintain my health, my wellness, mental wellness, my physical health, and just enjoyment, right? Making sure that I'm enjoying life during this phase of my life. Most of us at the age of 40 have already achieved a lot. We have families, we have kids. We've collected a lot of material things, right? And we've learned that there's more to life than just being a parent or being a spouse, collecting things, right? Buying stuff. So the meaning of this channel is dedicated to talk about those things, to talk about meaning, talk about wellness, health, fitness, mental well-being, because we're all in this journey called the human experience. We're all in this journey together, and I figure it's time for me to give back, give something back to the community and to whoever is watching. So I felt this calling to create a virtual school and community for those of us that need a space, right? A place virtually to find some useful information that I have personally validated through my journey and through this thing called life. And we're all a part of it. So welcome to the Ugly Dojo. So why ugly? A lot of people ask me that question. So I use ugly as an acronym. And here's the story. I was in my 30s, and I just had a kid, my daughter, and I'm sitting at a therapist's office. Wife at the time, no longer my wife. I didn't get remarried, but here's the story. So I'm sitting there, and therapist asks her, "Do you love your husband?" She asked me first, actually. She said, do you love your wife? I said, with all my heart and soul. She turns to her, she says, do you love your husband? Silence. Nothing. You could imagine how I'm feeling at this moment where, to me, that should have been a simple question to answer. Of course I love my husband, right? But it was silence, no answer. Then she answers, I love him, but brother. Ouch. Tear comes to my cheek. my heart starts to race. And I'm feeling like the worst person, the worst man on the planet. I'm feeling like the word is ugly, right? I felt disgusted with myself. But this is disgusting. How could the person of my heart to my entire life to have a kid with only loves me like not like a husband? So that really got me. The therapist see the dynamic here is, and I like to speak to each of you. So she goes, talks to her. I have no idea what they spoke about. And she comes back to me and says, now, I want to talk to you. And while this is happening, my daughter's very young. She's about, I think, 4 or 5 years old. Currently, my daughter's 21. And so she takes me to a room. She says, hey, man, I know you love your family. I know you love your wife. You're a very kind person. You seem like a very generous guy. Like a very kind man. She says, but there's a problem. You don't love yourself. You're not kind to yourself. And that's why they don't see it. She says, I want you to look at the mirror next to you, and I want you to say the words, I love you, Esteban. Go ahead, do that now. So I looked at the mirror next to me, and I just couldn't say the words. And I said, I can't. I said, how can I love myself if my wife doesn't love me and my marriage is falling apart? And she says, if you don't, no one will ever. Your wife will never love you. Kids will never love you because you don't know how to love yourself first. Love comes from you learning how to do that. So here's the assignment. Every day, I want you to go to the mirror and do the mirror work. I want you to say, I love you, Esteban. I want you to look into your eyes. I want you to mean it. I want you to try to get yourself there and do it every day for the rest of your life. And I said, what? So I said, okay. So I started practicing this mirror work. But it was reluctant work because it's very uncomfortable if you've ever done mirror work. And you're someone like I used to be. I looked into the mirror and I would say, stay on and walk away. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Why do I even have to do this? But after a couple of days of reluctantly saying, I love you, Esteban, I love you, Esteban, I love you, Esteban, I would pause and really try to get it. Really try to feel some love and generosity for me. And one day I said, you know what, I'm just gonna mean. And I looked into my eyes and I said, you know what? You have really nice eyes. I started complimenting myself for the very first time in my life. Because the self-talk, the negative self-talk that was in my head was so loud that every time I looked in the mirror, all I would see was a defect or something wrong with it. There was nothing that I could look at that felt worthy of me saying, hey man, that's good. And then I gave myself another compliment. I say, you know what? You have a really kind heart. You look out for others. And then I said, and I love that about you. I love you. And that's how it started. And after doing that, I'm really meaning it and looking for ways to genuinely give myself a compliment without being conceited, without being egotistical about it. I started to feel a shift happen inside of me. And this was what led me to the next step in my life, which was to be able to set boundaries and to say no. Because I looked for validation in others instead of looking for myself. Because first of all, I didn't know how to do that. This was why I launched that journey for me to be able to start validating myself was the mirror work. So if you're someone like me, man, woman, or whatever you identify as, it doesn't matter. Because if you don't love yourself first, how can you love someone else? That's if you've never learned to cook, right? How can we expect for you to cook a healthy, delicious meal? There's no way you can. There's no way you can until you learn. So learning to love yourself is not just saying it, but it's taking time to honor yourself and to put yourself and your well-being first so that you can take care of others. And not to be selfish. This is so that you can have something to give. Because if you don't have love for yourself, how can you have love for others? That's the question that I'm putting out, right? And this is not a religious message. This is a very practical message. And if you're affiliated to a religion and you're listening to this, I want you to understand that this is coming from a good place. This is not a selfish type of love. This is a love that cares, right? Because how can you care for others if you don't know how to care for yourself? This is about a system, a sequence, right? Because if you think about it, if I am the parent of a child, which I am, right? Can I expect someone else to love my child more than I do? I shouldn't, because I am the parent of that child, right? Sequence matters. I'll give you another example. This is about sequence. This is not about, again, religion. This is not about selfishness. This is about sequence. We talk about love a lot on the planet. Funny enough, I'm worried about Marnie's shirt today, right? One love, right? One life, right? Love is an interesting thing because everybody has different meanings of love. And the Ugly Dojo is dedicated to teaching men and women the practicality of love, right? Not the feeling of love. Because feeling love is one thing and doing love is another thing, right? The action of a loving person can be identified in the works that they do with their hands, with their communication, with the actions that they take. Love is a verb. And this verb is not just standing in front of the mirror and saying, I love you, Esteban, and then check it off the list. I said that I love myself. No, it's a verb. What's the actions? This is why I'm out here with 30 pounds on my back, walking, because I'm loving Esteban. Esteban has a body. And because I have a body, I have a duty to this body and a responsibility to exercise this body every single day. And this is a form of love. This is the verb of love, exercising. Do I feel like exercising every day? The answer is absolutely. This is why love is not a feeling. Love is a verb. Loving someone, especially yourself, is not about going to the spa and having spa day, even though that could be a form of love if you haven't taken care of yourself and you need a spa day, right? Let's say that's something that you're highly stressed and you haven't taken the time to rest and restore, then you probably need a spa. But the verb, that's where the verb comes in. What does Esteban, the body, mean? Give Esteban the body what it needs. So there's something called hygiene. And we all know hygiene when it comes to smelling bad, brushing our teeth, and taking a shower. Or using the restroom and cleaning up after yourself, cleaning your space, your living space. We talk a lot about hygiene because hygiene is love. When you take care of yourself, right? When you clean your space, it's a form of love, especially if you live with others. You're showing them that you care about your space and that you're being considerate for them. So this concept of hygiene is so important when it comes to love. And why are we in the topic of love? Because I was going to share with what the word ugly, why ugly is the word. And the reason why the word is ugly is because I use it as an acronym. When my ex-wife told me that she loved me as a brother, as a husband, it made me feel disgusted. And I wanted to transform that feeling into something useful for myself. So I turned it into an acronym. The U stands for unleash. The G stands for greatness. So there's the first concept of the Ugly Dojo. And it comes from a philosophy. We all have greatness within us. But the greatness is potential greatness. It's not something that is potential, is not something that we're entitled to. It's potential greatness. And it is up to us to unleash it. And to unleash greatness, you have to cultivate certain practices that require repetition. If you think of a pro athlete, the reason why they're known usually as pros and pro athletes is because they have mastered a skill in that sport, which is why they're considered pros or professional. So potential. See, unleash your greatness is a reminder that greatness is not entitled. You're not entitled to greatness. It's actually a duty, a responsibility. You all have the seeds of greatness. We all have the seeds of greatness planted within us the day that we were born. We were all born with this capacity and ability to be great. Shout out to my friend Aiden Silvers, who has demonstrated this to me. Regardless of your limitations. Tell you a quick story about Aiden. Aiden cannot, he's bound to a chair, a wheelchair. He cannot move his hands, he cannot move his legs. He's pretty much paralyzed. And he has one of the strongest minds in a human that I've ever met, ever seen. And even though he has a disability, his disability has turned him into a superhero. He has a superpower that many of us in a lifetime will not be able to cultivate because of this thing called taking things for granted. We sometimes take for granted the body that we have, the mind that we have. And we don't realize the opportunities that are right there in front of us. So shout out to him. So U and the G stands for Unleash Your Greatness. It's a reminder that we all have greatness within us, but it is up to us to unleash it through the power of repetition and focus and discipline. Then there's the second part of ugly, which is love yourself. That's the part 2, right? Unleash your greatness and love yourself. Do not forget that in your journey to greatness, the greatest gift you can ever give yourself and to the world is loving yourself in a healthy way so that you can love family, the community, and the people around. Because love is the greatest power on the planet, on the universe. And If you learn to cultivate love, the verb love, not the feeling, but the verb, the action of love, then you will unleash greatness and love yourself, and you will become what I call a modern samurai. Right? You will be the definition of what is to be a modern true warrior. A peace, which is the goal of the Ugly Dojo, is that you can cultivate peace, cultivate life, true life satisfaction. So that's it for today, guys. That was 22 minutes, and we made it back. My heart rate is at 140. Thank you for coming out with me today on this beautiful Monday. And remember the following. Remember, we're all in this journey together. So journey well.